Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 39th episode of Beat the Big Guys. I'm Sandy Rosenthal, and my guest today is from Texas, and her name is Milann Guckian. Hi, Milann.
Hi, Sandy. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Milann, did I pronounce your last name properly?
Yes, ma'am, you
Okay.
did.
Good. We're off to a good start. So I am very excited about my guest today. Boy, does she have a story to tell. And before we hear all about it, let me give you just a short introduction about the woman that we're about to hear from. Milann is born in Lockhart, Texas. She grew up in Galveston, went to school at Texas A&M, and then went on to a 26-year career working in oil and gas refinery operations in Corpus Christi. In 2016, Milann and her wife of 35 years completed construction of their forever home on 5 acres in Comal County. Did I pronounce that right, Milann?
Yes, Comal County.
Okay, awesome. The gateway to Texas Hill Country. Retirement came in 2017, and they left for the coast for their dream home. But with the move came word that the beautiful, pristine 1,500-acre white ranch across the road from them had been sold to Jess, I'm backing up. Retirement came in 2017, and they left for the coast of their dream home. But with the move came word that the beautiful and pristine 1,500-acre white ranch across the road had been sold to Blue Pine Holdings, a shell company owned by Vical Construction, and they have planned to turn White Ranch into a quarry. Retirement was put on hold, and for the last 5 years, our Milann and her all-volunteer organization found retirement was put on hold, and for the last 5 years, our Milann and her all-volunteer organization Preserve Our Hill Country Environment has been fighting to preserve and protect the ranch, the quality of life for the people in Comal Country, and its natural resources. Well, I think I won the prize for most mistakes in an introduction. So again, hello, Milann. And again, how are you today?
I'm doing fine. How are you today, Sandy?
I've had better days, but hopefully it's uphill from here. So this story about having to put your retirement on hold, I can't believe it. And for 5 years, and you did it and are continuing to do it. So tell us the story. What made you decide to do this?
Well, number one, I love the Texas Hill Country, and I came back home to be and spend time here. My family is close. My roots are here. And I was invited to a meeting, and the meeting told us what was getting ready to happen. And I worked in oil and gas for 26 years, and I knew, I knew about the environment and how the environment, you could be a good steward of the environment. And I knew absolutely nothing about the aggregate industry, which is what was getting ready to go in across the street from us.
And tell our listeners what the aggregate industry is.
The aggregate industry is, it's quarries, it's rock crushing, it's cement plants, it's asphalt plants, it's there's several different little concrete batch plants and things. There's a whole bunch of industry in aggregate, but we put it all under one moniker of the aggregate production operations, and you'll hear me call them APOs quite a bit. Okay. Well, I will tell you, Sandy, that's probably a good question, because I did not have a clue about any of this 5 years ago. And so even though I was versed in oil and gas, I knew absolutely nothing about APOs. So that meeting that we went to that first day, they just, and also, I mean, I'd worked with TCEQ, which for people, that's the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. I had worked with them and I'm familiar with the agency through working in the oil and gas industry. So I knew that they were a regulatory agency, and I knew working in oil and gas that they could be a pain in my behind because of their regulatory schemes and things that we had to abide by in the industry. So it was very surprising to me when I found out there was very minimal regulation on APOs. So at that first meeting, I got an earful, and they started to try to get people kind of organized and try to get people started. The first thing we had to do is what Vulcan did. That's the name of the company, Vulcan Construction Materials, LLC. They're out of Alabama. They're not even a Texas company. They're out of Alabama. They put in an air permit with the Texas TCEQ here in Texas. And that air permit, for us to fight that air permit, we had 30 days to make public comment and ask for a public hearing. So at this first meeting, none of us had a clue how to do this. The gentleman that brought us together, he said, his name was Ed Harris, and he said, what you need to do is this. You need to let the people in the area know that this is going on, and they need to make public comment. They need to send their comments in and say, hey, stop. We want a public meeting on this. We want a public hearing, and we have concerns. And so he was very sweet in that day he said, y'all can use my Facebook page, which is called Friends of Dry Comal Creek. And that's how we started. Friends of Dry Comal Creek was a Facebook page and is a Facebook page, and it continues to be our Facebook page. Ed Harris turned over the administrative reins of his Facebook page to our organization. And through the Facebook page, we were able to get out the word and get enough people to put public comment in within that 30-day period that it put the brakes, or it's slowed down the momentum of the quarry going in immediately. With that being said, as we organized and learned and did all these kind of things, we realized we needed a bigger audience to educate people and to get people involved. And so we started creating a website, and the Friends of Dry Comal Creek really wasn't telling us what we were doing. So we named the website Stop 3009 Vulcan Quarry. So that is our website. That is our main informational website. You can go to that website and all of our information is on it. So anyway, you had this little band of people start out with a Facebook page, try to learn about the industry, try to figure out how the protocols that you have to go through with TCEQ to fight the air permit. And our organization started out with 19 people in that room that day. Of the 19 people in that room that day, there are 4 of us left. Myself, I'm going to name them. Myself, Kira Olson, Liz James, and Don Everingham. And they have hung through and put their lives on hold for the most part. Kira's been a stay-at-home mom and wife for a number of years. Don is a retired mining engineer, actually, a truck engineer, and he knows about big rigs and big trucks and diesel engines and all of that kind of stuff. And Liz is actually still working, so she is full-time at her job. But the 4 of us were the backdrop for this organization, and we have moved forward. And since then, we've brought in other people by hail and high water. We've sent out letters. We went through the Facebook page. We started this website. Well, when we started this website, we didn't know what we were doing. And one of our letters we had sent out to the people in our neighborhood, we drew in a young man by the name of David Drua, and he is our webmaster. And he is now on board completely. And he is also a full-time volunteer for our organization, even though he is young and has his own business. But he is our web designer, and he has done a very, very good job of helping us educate the people. So through these channels, we have been able to get the word out. We have been getting people up. We've had public comments. We've had people did everything they needed to do. When the public hearing, it took us from 2017 when we started to get the public meeting with TCEQ and Vulcan, which happened in 2018. We had over 500 people show up for that meeting, and over 500 people make comments at that meeting. And a number of those people, a good portion of those people, asked to be what is called an affected party to the contested case hearing because of the type of permit this was. It's called a new source review permit. they had to grant certain people that met certain criteria affected party status. Well, that came from that meeting. That came from all the comments that went in both onto the TCEQ website and during that meeting. They were able to draw from that, and the certain people that met the criteria of all the 500 people that posted and asked for contested case hearing, TCEQ named 8 entities as affected parties. 8. Of those
entities, or
8 entities. And that's of those 8 entities, one was Friends of Drycomall Creek and Stop 309 Vulcan Quarry. So they made those, even though it's the same organization, it was 2 entities, and then that's just the way it ended up being. Another one, a third one was a homeowners association, and the other 5 were people that were within a half a mile of the crusher, the rock crusher itself. The way these air permits work is they don't have to do the whole site, the whole facility, the whole area. All they have to do is the equipment itself, the rock crusher. In this case, it was the rock crusher only. They don't have to do the blasting. They don't have to do all of the diesel trucks, the diesel equipment, and anything that's going in and out. They don't have to worry about the haul roads. They don't have to worry about the stockpiles that are inside the quarry. None of that is part of the air permit. The only thing that they permit is the rock crusher and its associated equipment.
Sounds like a loophole to me.
It is a loophole, because if you don't live within what they consider a certain distance, a half mile of that equipment, then you're not considered an affected party. So only 8 people got that. And of those 8 people, I was one, Prue and I were one, Liz next door was one, and another couple up the way was one, and then another couple across the street. So there was only 5 people that were in, and they were right there on it. Well, number one, this is a portable rock crusher, so keep that in mind. So we did everything that we were supposed to do, and we hired attorneys, which costs money. We have to learn from costing money. We had to start asking people for money because we had to pay for it. From that, we had to create fundraising. And so now we are like just this band of people that are doing a small amount of people doing a lot of work. So we realized, when trying to deal with legislators, local government, the media, and things like that, that our name, Stop 309 Vulcan Quarry, wasn't actually going to be a good one, because it was a negative kind of a connotation. It was stop something. Instead, we wanted to say, we're doing this for a reason. It's not just because this part is in our backyard, but what we've grown to understand is that it's affecting a whole region of people. And that's where we decided that, you know what, in order to fundraise and to make money and to ask people for money, we needed to be a nonprofit. So we created, first off, it's easier to become a C4 than it is a C3, but that gave us taxable, some tax advantage. So we became a C4 first, and that was where Preserve Our Hill Country Environment was born. We followed that up with a 501c3 so that we could fundraise on our own without having to have a fiscal sponsor. And that's where PHCE Foundation came in. So that is the metamorphosis of the basis of our program, the basis of our organization. And we went out and asked, we've now got a volunteer coordinator that just came on board in the last 6 months. So that's somebody that's helping us to reach out and find more people to help us with certain things. So that's how Preserve Our Hill Country got involved or got started. And it's all because of a letter in my mailbox telling me that a ranch that I had, when we bought this property in 1996, all that was out here, and the only neighbors I was going to have was that 1,500 acre ranch across the road that had exotics on it. When I say exotics, it's exotic animals. He had some really exotic deers and things like that, and he kept it clean and pristine. And then I have a 600 acre ranch on my other side, which is a family homestead. 5 different families live there. And then my best friends bought the 5 acres on the other side. And so I really thought all I was going to have to deal with was cows and my best friend, Lizzie. And so this really put a stop to my plans of reading and playing golf and playing with grand nieces and grand godchildren and things like that, and helping with my aging parents. It's kind of slowed down and crimped my lifestyle and travel plans and things of that nature.
Well, having gone through a similar thing, I wasn't just about to begin retirement, but I was beginning semi-retirement. And so I know what it feels like, and I understand. And I'm going to tell you right now 2 things. One, you've already won, you just don't know it yet. And you're going to see. And already the fact that you were able to amass the amount of, I'm going to back up again. The fact that you were able to mobilize what you have is amazing, is incredible. It's doable, yes, but not easy. And you did it. And we're going to talk a lot more about that in the next few minutes, on how you were able to successfully mobilize an effective organization or a mass, whatever you want to call it, that is going to stop the quarry. Okay. I actually believe in stopping things. You know, I've had legislators say to me, well, you shouldn't try to stop it. You should just try to change it. Well, you know what? Sometimes you just got to stop it. But we'll talk about that in the next few minutes. So would this be an okay time for me to ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So did you ever imagine that you would become an expert and just be effortlessly throw around words like karst, escarpment, aquifer recharge zones? I mean, did you ever imagine you would be able to just talk about that these things would just roll off your tongue like this?
No, I did not. I mean, that's what I was saying, is like, when I first started this, I knew absolutely nothing about APOs, aggregate production operations. Mm-hmm. I didn't know, I couldn't have told you the difference between a concrete batch plant and a rock crusher.
But you can now.
Definitely couldn't have told you the difference between karst and an escarpment, but they actually are one and the same. So that's all right.
Well, I learned something today too. But it is remarkable. But so what? Just because you never imagined you do it, you're doing it, and you're doing an amazing job. You are, by the way, called, there's a name for someone like you. It's called a disaster resilience leader. Is when disaster comes, or catastrophe comes, you rise up from the ashes and become someone that you never thought you would be. So that's you. Well, and I'm proud to know you.
Well, thank you.
Very proud to know you. So your experience in oil and gas, how would you say that helped you deal with the aggregate industry?
Well, the biggest thing that helped me deal with is the fact that I know that there is regulation. Mm-hmm. I know that there is technology out there that can help with that regulation. It's expensive, but it can be done, and it's being done in the aggregate industry and other states. But with oil and gas, I mean, you're responsible for what you put into the environment. I mean, there is technology, there's analyzers, there's all of this that you gauge, and there's a way to remediate, and there's a way to keep it clean and preparing it to put stuff into the atmosphere that is not going to damage our environment. And if oil and gas can do that, and if a refiner can do that, there's no reason on earth that people that work with rock can't do it. And it's just a matter of investing and wanting to invest in the natural resources and in the environment, and taking the step. One of the things I was so proud of in the company that I used to work for was that our CEO at the time could see the writing on the wall. He said, look, we need to either get ahead of this, or we're going to be playing catch up. So he felt like it was important to him to get ahead of it, and he put things in place before it was required. So when TCEQ or the EPA came down on them and said, hey, these things need to be in place, they were already in place. It was already a part of our culture. So I know that you as industry can make it a part of their culture. And that's what I want to do. But the thing that I found the most disheartening was that I'm having to drag TCEQ along in this. It's like, they're the ones that are supposed to be the stewards of our environment, and they're more focused on the economic benefit than they are on the environment. And that is just very disheartening, because that was not my experience with them when I was in oil and gas.
Well, so I have to say that based on my experience, which is pretty extensive, that the company you work for is the exception and not the rule. Unfortunately.
For oil and gas?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. And you find that in the aggregate industry as well. There are what I call good actors, and there are bad actors.
Well, that's good to know. That's
okay. And there are good actors, and there are good actors in the aggregate industry. And Sandy, it's like oil and gas. We need it. I mean, it serves a function, and the aggregate in Texas serves a function, and we need it, but it needs to be held accountable and needs to be done in an environmentally safe and protective way. And
just like everything. I mean, like dry cleaning, for goodness sake, cleaning, if done improperly, is terrible for the environment, but it can be done right. We need everything, but the aggregate industry and the oil industry should be held to the same standards as the dry cleaning industry.
Exactly. They should be held to the same standards as the guy that owns a single gas station does.
So something else that you touched on, which is really important, and I really wanted to make sure that our listeners notice this, is probably the springboard of the mobilization, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, Milann, but the springboard that got all of this mobilization started sounds to me like it was Mr. Ed Harris's Facebook page.
Yes, actually, it was the letter that Mr. Ed Harris put in a few of our mailboxes around the area and invited us to a meeting. Okay. And then what Mr. Harris did was allowed us to use his Facebook page to get to spread the word out further. I will tell you that I left that meeting that day. I came home, and I'm sorry, I'm not outside, or I'd show you a picture. I came home and I painted a sign that said, "Stop 309 Vulcan Quarry." It's still out in the front of my property. And from then we went out and we found a sign company and had them do the same thing. But we were able to put Friends of Dry Comal Creek Facebook on there. And so we had people start putting signs up. And so, yes, that was our springboard to start getting the community involved.
Be sure to preserve that sign. I know right now you're focused on looking ahead and forward, but be sure to preserve that sign. Okay. I would hate to see you 10 years from now going, "Where's that sign?"
It's still up in front,
but don't let it blow away in the next. We don't have. Well, yeah, of course we have hurricanes, unfortunately. So don't lose it. Don't lose it. In fact,
I've got it. It's actually posted into the ground.
Awesome. So it won't just.
And it's on wood.
Okay. Well, Stop the Quarry could come steal it.
Well, yeah.
And things like that have been known to happen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But there's also a sign that says, we don't call 911, so they better not trespass. Just kidding. That's just kidding.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So this is something else that is important. You mentioned that there were 4 movers and shakers, for lack of a better word, that are running this organization.
There's a few more now. Those were just the original 4.
That's not unusual. It's not unusual. And it's also important, because one person cannot do everything. It can't. One person will burn out, and it can't be done that way. So it's good that there were 4 people and things were being shared. That's one of the things I discuss a lot in my book, to avoid burnout. Had I tried to do everything when I was running levees.org, I would have imploded after a couple of years. And it took a decade to really get something accomplished with my organization. But something else that I thought was interesting is that you have a young webmaster who did a website. The exact same thing with me. When I started levees.org, the webmaster who did the website was my then 15-year-old son. He had just turned 15. And that website, a different version of it, of course, it's been modified over the past 16, 17 years, but was created by my 15-year-old son. And I just love hearing that it's a young person created the website for you.
This he's a young professional, and this is what he does. He's a design guy, and he saw what we were doing and what we were trying to do. And he said, y'all need help. And I said, because he asked what he could do to help. I said, if you know anything about websites, we could use some help. And he has done, I will say that it is one, I'm very proud of our website. And I'm very proud of David's work.
It's a beautiful website. Well, and one of our listeners need to take note is when you open up your mouth and start talking, people will come to help you. They will come. They may not come on day 1 or day 2, but they'll come. And so take heart and keep going forward. And the day that you get your biggest helping hand will come when you least expect it. But you do have to open up your mouth. So, but that's what we in Milann are here for, to help you. Right, Milann?
Yes, that's right. And I'm going to say that we have a tremendous following. We have a lot. We couldn't do it without the help of our supporters. I mean, when we do a call to action and ask them to write a legislator, they get on the horn and they do it. And if we say, hey, look, guys, we're running a little low in the bank. Can you give me $20? They step in line and they do that. And so, we cannot and have not been able to do this without the tremendous amount of support we have from our community.
It's amazing. It's a beautiful thing to see. I also noticed that at one point you were talking about, when we tried, I don't remember exactly what it was you were doing, but you pointed out, well, we didn't know what we were doing.
We didn't know what we were doing.
But it's okay. I mean, I cannot tell you how often, as I wrote my book, I talked about, I didn't know what I was doing. I just tried something, and this not everything worked well, but everything worked kind of well. And but you don't have to know what you're doing. All you need to know is what it is you're looking for. And you don't need to know the answers. You just need to know the questions. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Ask questions. Let them come up with the answers, and don't worry that you don't know everything when you start out. Because what you do have on your side is this is your community. This is where you go to sleep at night, and this is where your heart is. And the people that work for the quarry in your community, they're just punching a time clock, and they are just going to go somewhere else. Like the quarry is in Arkansas. Their heart and soul is not in the community. And that's the way it is for your community, wherever you are in the country listening to this episode right now. Milann, is there anything else that you'd like to add that you think you won't go to sleep tonight unless you've said it right now?
I just want to thank all the people that have stepped up and helped us get to where we are. And, one of the things that we did see and that we felt was very important is there's so many grassroots groups like ours that we got with our local Comal Independent School District superintendent. He called a couple of another group that I work with quite closely, a guy called Comal Environmental Education Coalition. And his name is Mark Friesenhahn, and he and I went and visited with the superintendent, and he said, you know what, there's so many groups like you, y'all need to expand, y'all need to somehow draw all these groups together. And that was another thing that I'm very proud of that we've done, is that we created what we call Texans for Responsible Aggregate Mining. TRAM is our moniker. And that is taking grassroots groups from all over the state, not just the Hill Country, not just Comal County, but all over the state. We've got people from Harris County, from up in Tarrant County and beyond, Dallas, Houston, all the way over to here. So we've got 22 member groups now in that organization, and we represent, I can't remember exactly how many counties we're up to, but all the counties that we represent are approximately 42% of the population of Texas.
Oh my goodness. I'm actually familiar with TRAM. I've read about TRAM, TRAM, and that, generally speaking, is called a coalition.
That is a coalition, is an alliance. Is what we call it, is an alliance.
And where there are alliances, there is power. And the fact that it is representing 46% of Texas is unbelievable.
About 42%,
including the counties.
Yeah, that's
Amazing.
And we're one of the founding members of that organization as well, of that alliance. So
Congratulations.
we're proud of that. And
I am so proud.
Got to shout out because one of the things that we realized when we were doing this, and we found this out from the very beginning, is that we had to fight this from the science side of things. So we created and do have a integrated science and tech team that involves engineers, hydrologists, pathologists, and geologists, and they help us with the science. And that's how we fight TCEQ at this point in time, is with the science.
No, absolutely important. With levees.org, that there's a similarities between our organizations keeps cropping up. I could not have done the work of levees.org without H.J. Bosworth, who was a civil engineer. I could not have done it, nor could I have done it without my son Stanford, who was a webmaster, nor could I have done it without Mark Serpenant, who was an attorney who advised us. So yes, it is critical to get, if you're in the science industry, it is critical to get scientists and engineers or hydrologists. It is important to get them, and they will come. They might even offer their expertise pro bono.
We are all volunteer group. It's all volunteer. I mean, there's none of us get paid for any of this. This is the labor of love.
And the power of groups like this is unstoppable. So if anybody listening to this episode, Milann, would like to know more about your work or your organization or TRAM, what would you suggest they do?
I suggest that they go to our website, obviously, Stop 3009 Vulcan Quarry. That's VULCAN, and then Quarry. It's all one word. .com. And then TRAM is tramtexas.org is that website. And if you want to email us or anything, you can get to us through our website. Our Facebook page is there, our Instagram page is there. All of that is right there at the top of our website. And if you want to email us, you can email us straight from the website. So
thank you again, Milann Guckian, for joining me. And I hope all of you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast on all of your favorite platforms. And remember, no matter who you are, you too can beat the big guys. Okay, Milann, stay with me. I'm just going to stop recording.